Welcome to Alpine Daily. It's time for our Monday family devotional. I'm glad that you're here today, and I hope as families that you regularly gather around the computer and discuss what your kids have been learning in kids' church. All month long, we have talked about determination, deciding it's worth it to finish what you've started. And this month's memory verse comes from the book of Hebrews, and it says, "Let us keep on running the race marked out for us." We've talked about this race being our lives and how God has marked out a plan for us and how we can be determined to make the right choice and to fulfill the things that He teaches us in the Bible. Our Bible story for this week comes from the book of Ruth, and what we focused on today is how Ruth was determined to be a great daughter-in-law to Naomi, even when times were tough. For those of you who may not be familiar with this story, Naomi, the mother-in-law of Ruth, she lost her husband and her 2 sons, and Ruth decided to stick with Naomi and go back to her homeland rather than return to her homeland. We decided this really showed determination because it wasn't easy. It was hard, and Ruth had to work hard just to make ends meet, to have food, and she really worked extra hard to love on Naomi in this book. And this story really describes our bottom line, which is where Ruth stuck by Naomi, and she was in need. Our bottom line says, be the one who sticks by someone in need. And we challenged the kids, and I hope that as a family you can have a time of discussion to think about who might be in need in your life and how you can stick by them. So our questions for you to discuss, maybe you could pause the computer and take turns discussing these questions. The ones for children asks, what is something that has helped you keep going, even when you felt like giving up? This is a great way to talk about how to maintain and stay determined. For parents, who do we know that needs us to stick by them, and how can we help? This might be a question that you can ask as a family, or maybe you could share as a parent to your kids, who's someone I know that I could stick by them, whether it's at work or in the neighborhood or even in our family. And I wanted to share with you how in Kids Church we've been going over what we've called a big story timeline. And this is just a picture of how we have shown the children how we're walking through the timeline that the Bible portrays, all the different stories that we're learning. The first week this month, we talked about Noah, and we talked about Moses the second week. And this week we're in the book of Ruth, which kind of lands between Moses and David. But I challenge you as a family to maybe pause and take a look at this picture and think about how God has laid out this timeline for us and how we get to be a part of this big story. Now, next week we get to move out of the Old Testament and we're going to move into the New Testament. So I look forward to meeting back with you next week at our Alpine Daily.